their families when they are not sure of coming back. And as a result of that, many children have been orphaned and young women have been widowed. Mr. Speaker, the only thing that we can now say at the moment is to condone with the families that are affected and also request the government to give them all the necessary support that these families need. Number one, they are psychologically traumatized, and so they need some counseling and better support. And even when we send them, special grants should be put aside so that in case of anything, the families can be attended to urgently. And as we release them, the type of equipments that are used, Mr. Speaker, sir, especially the vehicles that they use. You know, your enemies always look at your weak areas, and they capitalize on that. And of late, they have realized that even the vehicles that our troops use are not maybe strong enough. And so, majority of them have lost their lives while they are going to serve Kenyans or to give service to where they are. And so we should be ready. I'm glad that the chairman has reported that in this budget and in all our budgets, they have been considered. But it is my prayer that even going forward, enough budget will be set aside so that we can be able to take care of our soldiers. Mr. Speaker, Article 27 says every person has equal right before the law and have equal opportunity, meaning that even the soldiers have equal right to life and they need to be protected. As they protect the lives of others, they are also supposed to be protected. And that is the responsibility of our government, and it is high time that Kenyans change their tactics and see how best we can protect our troops within and without the country. Mr. Speaker, sir, currently the families suffer in different ways. Special consideration should be done for the families, and especially the young women who are widowed and the orphans who are left behind by these heroes. I support. Thank you.
Honorable Tindi Mwale.
Asante sana Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, pia mimi nachangia katika hii mada ya ukosefu wa usalama katika Lamu County. Bwana Spika, utapata ya kwamba wakati hakuna usalama katika eneo lolote, tutapata ya kwamba ni wamama, watoto na vijana ambao wanateseka zaidi. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, naanza na kushukuru mwenzangu ambaye ni mbunge kutoka eneo la Lamu kwa kuleta hii mada na hii mswada ya kuongelelea maneno ya usalama katika kaunti yetu ya Lamu. Na sio Lamu peke yake Bwana Spika. Usalama haupo katika nchi ya Kenya. Kuna maeneo mengi katika nchi yetu ya Kenya ambayo imeonekana ya kwamba watu wanateseka, wengine wanapoteza maisha, wengine hata wananajisiwa.
Yes, what's your point of order?
I have heard my colleague say that this motion was brought by a member of parliament from Lamu. I think it needs to be corrected that I'm not a member of parliament from Lamu. I'm the member of parliament from Nandi Hills. So, yes, so...
You may proceed, Honorable Tindi.
Nilimaanisha Nandi, ni vile yeye alisikia Lamu. Sorry, lakini sasa nimerudia, ni mbunge kutoka Nandi County. Asante sana kwa kurekebisha haya. Bwana Spika, nikiendelea utapata ya kwamba kwa sisi kupata ya kwamba uchumi unaendelea katika nchi yetu ya Kenya, lazima tuimarishe maneno ya usalama, kwa sababu usalama kama haupo, hata shule wanafunzi hawawezi enda, wanabiashara hawawezi fanya biashara. Utapata mambo mengi yanazungukwa na usalama ambao unafaa uzingatiwe na serikali. Bwana Spika, utapata tuko na vifaa katika idara yetu ya polisi, tuko na vifaa katika idara yetu ya jeshi. Hizo vifaa za vita zimenunuliwa na pesa ushuru ya wananchi. Kwa nini, Bwana Spika, hizo vifaa zisitolewe ziende huko Lamu ama mahali popote Kenya ambapo kuko na insecurity, ile ukosefu wa usalama? Hizo vifaa zitumike kulinda hao wananchi ambao wanalipa ushuru. Bwana Spika, Bwana Spika, tuko na wanajeshi wa Kenya ambao wamepelekwa kulinda huko Kongo. Tumeona juzi kwa vyombo za habari, serikali ya Kongo ambayo inaongozwa na Rais Tshisekedi hawataki hao wanajeshi wakuwe huko Kongo. Mbona usirudishe wanajeshi wa Kenya tuwatume hapa Lamu walinde wananchi wa Kenya na watulindie usalama? Kwa hivyo, Bwana Spika, mimi naunga mkono ya kwamba usalama katika kaunti ya Lamu uzingatiwe, na mahali popote ambapo hakuna usalama katika nchi yetu ya Kenya iangaliwe ya kwamba usalama unanawiri, na pia wananchi waishi wakijua kwamba tuko na vijana wetu, tuko na wanajeshi na polisi ambao wamepewa ile itikadi ya kulinda maisha na vifaa na kila kitu ambayo iko katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Kwa hayo machache, Bwana Spika, mimi naunga mkono hiyo mswada. Asante sana.
Very well. The Honorable Member for Wajir South, Mohammed Ado.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. From the onset, I would like to send my heartfelt condolences to the families of our gallant soldiers who died while defending our land. This menace of Al-Shabaab, the armed groups that are wreaking havoc not just in Lamu, but also in northeastern Kenya, where we've seen attacks in Mandera, Wajir, and Garissa counties in the past few weeks. This is the work of not just Al-Shabaab fighters who have crossed over from Somalia, but also homegrown elements who are assisting them in traversing the terrain, which they know very little about. And there's a need for concerted effort by not just the government, but also from the public to fight these people once and for all. Because if they get a foothold in our country, we are going to see much more brazen attacks that are going to jeopardize the peace and security that we so much cherish in this country. And Mr. Speaker, we are sitting on a ticking time bomb when you look at the thousands of young people in those marginal areas where this group is now operating in. Talking about places like Lamu, Mandera, Garissa, Wajir. And their target is to recruit as many of our young people as possible in their campaign of violence. And if we don't do something about that, then it is going to be to our detriment. And Mr. Speaker, so far, we've had the National Police Reservists at the forefront of defending this country. They are people who've been chosen because of their knowledge of the terrain and the people and the language. And while some of them have been armed, others have not been armed, which makes them like sitting ducks when it comes to fighting this group effectively. And there is a need to remunerate them better than they are right now, because we've seen, and particularly in my constituency, whenever they receive their remuneration, sometimes it passes 3 months before they are given their dues, they get deductions from senior police officers. And that is unacceptable. We need to give them proper uniform, proper training, and properly remunerate them so that they form the first line of defense to ensure that we do not get these attacks going forward. And Mr. Speaker, no amount of conventional warfare will work against this group. In the course of doing journalism over the past 25 years, I've covered groups like Boko Haram, Al-Shabaab, Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb. And these people are not only smooth and far-reaching, but also very difficult to detect. They make their entry even before their presence in a place is known. And we should not look at them like any other security threat. We are facing an existential threat, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I do not agree with those who are arguing that the Somali-Kenya border should not be opened as planned by the government because these criminal elements are not passing through official crossings, which gives our gallant forces the chance to identify those who are coming to Kenya for good and those who are coming to Kenya to try and harm us. I would like at this point to thank our security forces who have so far been very, very steadfast in fighting these groups. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Member for Mgwen, Honorable Joseph Lelmegit.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support the motion of adjournment to discuss insecurity in Lamu and the northeastern part of Kenya, put forward by the Honorable Member for Nandi Hills, Honorable Bernard Kitur. First and foremost, Mr. Speaker, I would like to pass my message of condolence to the families affected, to the young souls that were lost in this attack. Secondly, I would like, in the movie that I saw, I thought this only happens in movies, Mr. Speaker, but this is real life and there are real issues. As we grow, we see them in reality. There is a movie, it's called We Were Soldiers. And these commandants, one of the commandants, before they went to war, he promised his platoon that I will be the first to touch the ground and I'll be the last to leave the place, the scene. And he would not leave any soldier behind. The kind of dedication, the kind of sacrifice, the kind of endurance that these soldiers passed through is enormous. And the reason why they swore after their training and in their service, they swore that they would protect this nation, whatever may, at whatever the cost. We should also, as a government, be true to the same word and swear or take care of their welfare, protect them. For example, in the recent event that occurred, I tend to believe that we should have had better machines which can detect landmines with the current technology that we have at the moment, give them more sophisticated weapons so that they can help them fight the Al-Shabaab within the Lamu region. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, Lamu region, there is a big chunk of forest, like the Bohoni. I think so as long as the Bohoni forest exists, we will still lose our people, we will lose our soldiers. I want to encourage the government, as part of the income generating activity, to clear that forest in Lamu, Mr. Speaker, so that we can even use the same money to plow back to the economy of this country. Once that forest is cleared, at least we can have a peaceful area within Lamu region. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, there are several cases of land injustices within Lamu region. Maybe we call upon the NLC to come together, the government to help resettle those people because they take advantage and bring in those vices. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, during deployment, as part of the welfare of this, taking care of the welfare of these soldiers, deployment, we have to have experienced soldiers to lead the new recruits so that with the experience they have, they could easily prevent such issues from occurring. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, we need to have social support desks for these soldiers. They go through serious frustrations with the war, the kind of deaths they experience. We need to have them. They undergo serious frustrations and even take care of their families. Thirdly, Mr. Speaker, on the compensation issues. We need to have a proper package for compensations for soldiers whenever we experience a number of deaths. The other issue, Mr. Speaker, I would want also to question the employment criteria of our NIS. Every time NIS has been accused, allegedly, for employing children from rich families. How can you send rich kids to do the security issues? They can't stay at night protecting the poor people. So I would want to encourage and advise so that next time they follow the right procedures in employing these security forces for intelligence reasons. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support.
Very well. Next to speak on this is the Honorable Yusuf Mohammed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this motion. This issue today is a weighty issue, an issue that we need to discuss seriously. Al-Shabaab has been with us. We know the damage it caused to this country. We can remember vividly what happened in Westgate, Garissa University, and so many other places. So many people, young people, promising, have lost their life due to Al-Shabaab. Today, as we speak, it is not only about Lamu County that are at risk. If you ask me, the whole of in Nairobi or all over in Kenya, we have a problem in our hand. But how do we prevent this issue, especially the Al-Shabaabs coming in and waging a war in our own homeland? What we need to do is the following. For me, I believe a home ground solution is the only way to detect, to avert, and to prevent this Al-Shabaab menace. If we can remember very well, after the Garissa University, the government of Kenya decided to have a different approach on how they used to deal with Al-Shabaab before, by remunerating, employing NBRs and a people called by the name Ma'wisley, who are always on the forefront of all the border areas. These people were initially being remunerated well, paid well, but I don't know what happened recently. Things changed. Those people decided to leave those areas. And we are experiencing Al-Shabaab menace all over. In Mandera, in Wajir, in Garissa, in Lamu, and who knows where next. I want us to visualize and think of what happened during those times. Are we ready for the tragedies that happened during those times? No. If no, what this government needs to do is to remunerate, motivate, first the first line of defense, which are NPRs. Two, the special forces who are doing also great job in our borders. The special forces initially were given extra allowances, but for the last 10 months, those allowances were not paid, according to the information we have from the ground. So what comes out of that? Exit from the security side. If a person is not motivated, a person who is defending you, who is defending this country, who is sleeping outside every night because only to defend and secure this country is not motivated well, then you can imagine what else can we invest in this country. Security should have been the first thing. For a country to be secure, you must invest in the security agencies. You must invest in all other that comes with it. So as we must have a secure border. I want to echo my brother here, Honorable Ado. Some people are saying the borders should not be open. The borders should be opened for the youth of those areas who could have been recruited by the Al-Shabaabs to get jobs. And the security officers shall be remunerated well so that they are also motivated and they can secure our borders. For that few remarks, I support the motion. Thank you.
Very well. Let's have the Honorable Augustine Mwafrika Roysambu.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I am a firm believer that Al-Shabaab or the attackers, they can never be ahead of the government. No matter how sophisticated weapons they may have, I believe that there is no way they can be ahead of the government, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a grave matter. We understand that villagers in Lamu are fleeing because of the attacks. Most of the members here have talked about the armored vehicles. That is okay, and I support that. But I would like to make an additional call to our security agents and the government about coming up with a detector of the weapons they are using, the IEDs, because there are two common ways. The tactics they are using, I have identified to be two commonly ones. That is, either the assailants are armed or by use of the IEDs. So if the government or our security agents can come up with a detector, it will be very good, because before they drive, our security agents drives within those areas. First of all, they use the detectors to know if there are any hidden those IEDs. That would be easy, Mr. Speaker. So I make a call that the government or our security agents to come up with a detector. Mr. Speaker, here we may talk about those who have been killed, but there are so many others who have been left injured. I would like to request the government also to take care of the injured. Most of the injured are the innocent Kenyans. Innocent Kenyans who probably have nothing to do with that fight. So innocent, and they have been left injured. We are requesting the government to take care of them. And Mr. Speaker, I'm also supporting those who are making a call for our soldiers in Congo to be withdrawn, to be brought back to Kenya so that they can be deployed within those areas. Because it is not right that some of our areas, that is mostly Ramu and Garissa, they had an attack, and we have offered a support to our neighbor country. Mr. Speaker, before we offer that support, we need to be safe back here in our country. So it doesn't matter, even if those soldiers who have been deployed to Congo, if they are brought back and they are deployed to Ramu, Mr. Speaker, it doesn't matter, even if it means the ratio of 1:10, provided, Mr. Speaker, we don't hear any more attacks within those areas, because we can only be able to progress when our country is peaceful. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support.
The Honorable Pamela Njoki-Njeru.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, as much as we thank the government for the credible job being done matter security in our nation, I wish to reiterate that our security should not be compromised whatsoever. Honorable Speaker, as a member of Embu County and the Embu County Women Representative, and on behalf of the Embu community, I wish to convey my sincere condolences to the community of Lamu following the recent attacks that has led to loss of lives.
Pamela Njoki-Njeru, as much as possible, speak on this matter. Don't read a speech.
Yes,
proceed.
Sir. Thank you, Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I was in the line of giving my condolences on behalf of the Embu community following the recent attacks. Honorable Speaker, during the recent attacks in Lamu by the suspected gangs and terror attacks that has led to loss of lives and people being homeless and a lot of pain from women to children, Honorable Speaker, I wish to state that it is the high time the government equipped the KDF forces and other security agencies with the best machineries and ammunitions available so that indeed our country can remain safe. Honorable Speaker, the school-going children are expected to go back from midterm next week, from 3rd of July, and already in the areas of Lamu, we already know that they don't have anywhere to stay, they cannot go back to school. Honorable Speaker, I wish to state that the government should work and act in speed so that at least this matter can be resolved as fast as it can be done. In Salama and Juhud villages, we have had reports of loss of lives and even people who have already been pained enough and have been left homeless. Honorable Speaker, I wish to state that the government should move in as much as possible with a lot of speed and ensure that we, the people of Kenya, the people of Lamu, can stay in peace. As I conclude, Honorable Speaker, I wish to state that the government should explore the strategy of winners. Honorable Speaker, when exploring the secret of winners by the government should know that the life's strategy matters most in the approach to circumstances and situations for us to be a winner or a champion. Honorable Speaker, the government needs to stay in the mood of lions. The mood of lions is the mood for winners. Honorable Speaker, I support. Thank you.
The Honorable Joseph Oyula Butula.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also add my voice to these insecurity issues. Mr. Speaker, may I start by sending my condolences to the families of the young officers who were killed in the recent attack in Lamu. Mr. Speaker, in fact, one of the officers who passed on comes from my constituency. He was a young officer who was just around 25 years of age, and we just lost him through this terrorism. Mr. Speaker, it's a high time that the government came up with a way of wiping out these insecurity in these areas. Lamu was once a good place to visit, but these days, Lamu has deteriorated alongside Mandera, Garissa, Wajir. Mr. Speaker, this having happened through landmines, I want to support what one honorable member said, that there should be a detector. Whenever these vehicles carrying soldiers are ahead, there should be a vehicle that can identify or detect some of these landmines, which end up harming our young officers. Mr. Speaker, the time is ripe now for the government to take decisive action to make sure that we do not lose many officers as it has been in the past. Mr. Speaker, I want to support this motion, and I will urge the government to take it seriously to ensure that in future our armed officers are properly taken care of. Mr. Speaker, having said that, I would also want to ask the government to move very fast in releasing compensation to the families of the deceased. The families of the deceased are left in a very awkward situation with a lot of pain. So anything that can soften them up should be released as soon as possible. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you again and thank the honorable member who brought this motion for discussion in this House. Let us ask the government to act promptly. Thank you.
Very well. The Honorable Abdi Ali Ijara.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity to contribute in this adjournment motion of discussing insecurity issues in Lamu County and the entire Northeastern, more particularly Garissa County, from the constituency I represent. First and foremost, I want to send my condolences on behalf of Ijara constituency, the families who lost their loved ones, the the KDF's forces. Mr. Speaker, as I stand here, Ijara constituency, we have lost one KDF officer who was based in Ijara constituency because of this attack that happened in Handaro location. The name of that officer is called Saddam Abdul. He comes from a humble family in a place called Hara in Masalani division. Also, one of the officer who got injured is from Ijara constituency in the recent Lamu attack by the name Abdurrahman Ahmed Bashir. As you know that this Al-Shabaab is a very dangerous terrorist organization, and if you just see it, the entire northern Kenya, we are lagged behind in terms of development, including even we don't have basic things like roads, electricity, network. If I just take a clear example in Ijara constituency, we don't have networks in places like Andaro, Ilkambere, Gedulun, and those are areas which are near to the Lamu, to the Boni forest, and that is where they always hide these Al-Shabaabs. And because of that, Ijara constituents and the entire northern counties, they don't access the basic NGOs. Those NGOs, they don't access our areas just because of a narrative called insecurity. So by improving the security situation, we will be able to have more NGOs coming to support our communities, I mean the cross-borders NGOs. Going forward, the solution I request or I urge the government to do is equipping of more NPRs. If you see most of our NPRs, they don't have motivation. They don't get proper motivation. They only earn 5,000 a month. And that 5,000, it only comes after 2 months. There's delay of salaries. So because of that, they are not motivated. Also, the other challenges the NPRs are facing is because of the identification. You will see an NPR which has the uniform of our police working, and in the process they might meet with the KDF, our KDF forces, and in the process they might the KDF they beat our NPRs just because they don't have an identification tags to show that these are genuine NPRs. And just because of that, these NPRs are really exposed to that. Even Al-Shabaabs, if you see our area, a place called in Sangole, we have 8 NPRs who are earning salaries for the last 1 year, but they don't have guns. And these Al-Shabaab, they know that these are the people who are NPRs. The other solution that I want the government to take is to have what's called organized and legalized local militia by the name Mawisley. This is a homegrown solution that will help our people. Our people, more particularly Ijara people, are ready to defend their nation, their land, so further the government support. Because of that, I support this motion. Thank you.
Did you say you also have a militia? Next to speak on this is Honorable Francis Sigei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity for me to also add my voice on this national issue, which is dear to me. having I've worked in this system for a very long time, those places are safe now to go back to. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to express my sympathy on this particular issue. Mr. Speaker, I am a member of our National Administration and Internal Security, and I want to support my chairman. And, Mr. Speaker, if my chairman has spoken on several issues, I really wouldn't like to go through what he has said. But I want to support him, that we in the committee are really supporting our security forces. And in the recent budgetary process, we were able to enhance their finances. Mr. Speaker, but I want to say, as a member of Soti constituency, Mr. Speaker, on Saturday, we buried a young man who was working with KDF by name Justus Kipkorir To, a very young soul. And, Mr. Speaker, it was a very sad moment to have lost this young man who left a widow, a very young widow. And, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, I would like to support whatever my colleagues have said, that we need to look at the compensation to these lost souls. Mr. Speaker, a lot of issues came out during that funeral. One, and which people are asking me, and I want to say this, is about the criteria which the system use to identify officers who are going to this battlefront. This young man, Mr. Speaker, only joined the service in 2021. And, Mr. Speaker, people are expressing their doubts whether these people are experienced enough to go and be in the forefront. People are also asking me hard questions. One was about the kind of living conditions in which our officers are living. And, Mr. Speaker, we are going to discuss this in our committee. As a member of the committee, I would like to discuss this issue. But, Mr. Speaker, I want to mention one person who has done a very good job in this government. And this is the CS Administration and Internal Security, Professor Kindiki Kindule. I'm happy, Mr. Speaker, that he has been able to stop the wanton destruction of lives in the North Rift, and that we are now reporting peaceful areas of the Rift Valley, the northern part of our country. And I want to thank him for doing this. We also I want to say that we in the committee are advocating also for modernization of whatever equipment officers are using. And
very well, you have had your bite, and I want to encourage the members to be as brief as possible to allow all the members have a bite on this. Let's have Honorable Dido Rasso.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, on onset, I want to thank Honorable Bernard from Nandi Hills for this special motion. Honorable Speaker, some of our colleagues are saying, let us return forces from the African Union mission in Congo, in Somalia, and all that. Those forces should remain where they are. Terrorism is the weapon of the weak against the strong. And the issue of planting IEDs, attacking isolated villages sporadically, is just showing the weakness of Al-Shabaab. Honorable Speaker, you may wish to know that Al-Shabaab is being chased out of Somalia. They are defeated, they are on the run. So as Kenya, we should not give them the sanctuary. So far, over the last 2 months, we have lost close to 21 persons, 10 KDF, 5 KPR, and 5 civilians. That is not a small number by any means. For that reason, I want to say that the Kenyan people, because terrorism is about targeting the people when they are vulnerable, and a good example is the attack on Garissa University in 2015. So for that reason, our people must rise up, particularly the people of the North. We should not just leave it to the security forces to handle these things. By providing intelligence to government, by volunteering where to picket, by actually putting more of our people, particularly those elders, those imams who can talk to the youth. The issue of Al-Shabaab actually rides on radicalization. So long as we don't address the issue of radicalization, and people are helping this particular thing to thrive, then we may continue to face this menace. Honorable Speaker, I want to join Honorable Sigei saying that Professor Kindiki is doing a good job. What we want to ask the government, particularly on the side of mobility for our police, because we are seeing MRAPs being used, that is mine action vehicles, mine plated. We have APCs. I think we want to have more of that so that our soldiers are not on soft-skin land cruisers and lorries where they can easily be targeted with IEDs. There are those who are saying, let us use gadgets to pick out the IEDs. It may be quite difficult at this point in time. What is important is vigilance, a rapid changeover of our soldiers, so that those who have finished 6 months in those operational areas can be relieved, so that at every point in time, we have fresh boots on the ground. Honorable Speaker, the attacks in northeast Kenya and coast comes at a time where the CS defense is Aden Duale, NIS Director General is Nuruddin Haji, CID Director is Amin Mohammed, DIG Nur Gabo, DMI Major General Burje. These are among the most qualified people who I think Al-Shabaab have made a big mistake, that the people of the North, actually, I think they are up to the task. I call on these honorable men that we count on them. We count on their expertise for them to help Kenya in the hour of need. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well.